You are looking at a remarkable idea. An idea that has intrigued and attracted and literally thrilled thousands upon thousands of men, women, and children. And you, my friends, are about to witness this idea become a reality.
Well, good evening and welcome to Sinister Inclinations, the horror show. My name is James Sato. I'm one of your hosts. To my right is Terry Sherwood.
Hi again.
To Terry's right is our guest this evening, making a return visit, Keith Kollee.
Hey.
And we are going to be discussing movies. Hey.
The return.
Hey.
It's the return of, yes.
So yeah. Are you ready for some pants-shitting terror talk?
Yeah.
Because that's what we've got for you this evening.
Or a ribald anecdote.
And ribald anecdotes of no small amusement.
Yes.
Before we begin,
We have some business.
I'm gonna give some treats out.
Okay. All right.
Because I'm giving by nature.
Okay. Okay. This is,
I'm a giver.
okay.
It's always been said about it.
So
After, he's, oh my.
this is for Terry.
Oh my.
This is the very first documentary that Diabolique Films put out. It's called Hammer, the Warner Brothers Years. And that's for you, courtesy of Diabolique Films.
Well, thank you.
Greg Pedalutis and Dima Baum.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Yes, and can't talk too much about it,
Not a
but
Yes.
but it's going to be screening at festivals and that kind of thing.
Let's see if there's something inside of it.
Okay.
Oh.
What is it?
What a letdown. There's
Yeah.
nothing in there. It's a lovely case.
You tricked me.
What a lovely case.
You tricked. What a lovely case. What a thank you very much. Thank you very much, Greg, and the people at Diabolique Films who provided this for me, and it will certainly be screened probably later tonight, or if I really don't have anything to say, I may just go and do it now and let these guys talk.
Yeah. So I mean, even though I'm no longer involved with Diabolique Films, we. Long story short, really, they wanted to go off on a different direction, and I kind of wanted to branch out on my own with HGB Entertainment. So we had an amicable parting of ways, and Greg Pedalutis, of course, is still involved with marketing with HGB.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's where that sits right now.
He's in New York, isn't he?
Yes,
New York.
New York City.
We're not ignoring you.
No, you're fine. Yeah, you do your
We're-
thing.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, well,
We're not
here's. This was brought by Susan Voorhees, and this was for our St. Patty's Day episode. So you can have the Lucky Charms with the leprechaun.
With the leprechaun on it. Love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. I feel like it's a little stereotyped, but I will take it.
Actually, we're just cleaning out our set.
Destined to be a valuable fucking collectible.
Yeah.
This is why it was brought back.
Yeah, we got to get.
Because I got a car.
Yeah.
Who do you think will take the
Pull it
Lucky
off.
Charms? Keith. Okay. Let's get him back.
Yeah,
Okay, now this one
this one.
is kind of special because we have a crowdfunding campaign going on Indiegogo right now to
Yes.
make this documentary.
Yes.
And this is autographed by Sarah Karloff, and I don't know if you can see that,
Really?
but it's one of the perks that
She did.
that you receive when you contribute to the campaign. And we hope to be shooting this this fall here in Calgary. The artwork is by the great horror illustrator Mark Spears, and you can own one of these autographed posters just by making a contribution to your local PBS channel. No,
Yes.
look it up on Indiegogo. Boris
Yeah.
Karloff, The Early Years in Canada. We'd really appreciate it if you'd make a contribution. That's how these things get made. And Terry, this is
Yes.
for you.
Oh, this is amazing.
Yes,
This is
you can-
another thing.
Another
And,
thing for your wall.
Another thing. And we should also mention too, Jim, about this film is there are a lot of perks and there's a lot of different levels. It doesn't mean that you have to be in the thousands of dollars or whatever currency that you want to send to us. We're currently for US dollars because I believe that's what the site
Yes.
is. Thank you. The There are different levels. You can, as simply as $25 will get you a mention in the closing credits
Yes.
as a special thank you.
We've decided
We
to
have
include
various
everybody in the end credits,
Yes.
the tail credits.
all the way up to there's producer, executive producer, I believe there is. They're a little bit higher monetary value, but again, for a simple $25 pledge, you can have your name in a film and watch your name go by on the end credits.
And if you're a big fan of Universal horror or classic monsters,
Yes.
what better opportunity will you have?
Yeah.
Well, and supporting local and independent arts and filmmaking is so important.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely, absolutely. And Sarah Karloff will be coming to Calgary. We're going to take her to some of the places where her father performed almost a century ago.
Nice.
Yes.
That are still standing, and we're bringing in Stephen Bishop, the authorized biographer, who's helping Terry with the screenplay.
Yes. You mean Stephen Jacobs, actually.
What did I say?
Stephen Bishop. He must be.
Steve. Oh, he's the guy who sang.
That's Stephen Stills.
Fooled around and fell in love. Sorry, we're bringing him in.
Yeah. And then
He has very little to contribute to the process, but we just like him a lot.
He's going to compose love theme to Boris Karloff the early years in Canada.
No, it's Stephen Jacobs.
Stephen Jacobs, who wrote More Than a Monster.
Yes.
The Boris Karloff story.
The definitive Boris Karloff story that is sanctioned by Sarah Karloff herself and the Karloff estate. And I have read it, and it is literally everything you need to know about Mr. Karloff from when he was born. Actually, even before he was born, it sets up his life to.
Sorry, I think we'll detail when Dad came.
It is. It's. But seriously, you can be part of this film too.
Purple prose there, huh?
Yeah, so any contribution you'd make would be greatly appreciated. So we thought tonight, but now that you're back, that we promoted that you're coming back, so we do have some questions.
Oh my lord!
One that's specifically for you.
Oh,
but I thought this evening that we'll, it's
a little fan club going on, hey?
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's very little.
Yeah.
The only fan I have is oscillating.
Oh.
That's the only fans that I get. So
how have you been, Keith?
I've been really well. Yeah, I've been really good. I've been really busy. I just been appointed artistic director of my theater company, Scorpio Theater.
Oh, excellent.
Cool. And we are currently working on our first show for the season. It's a show called Women Playing Hamlet. It's a story of a woman who's been cast in the role of Hamlet, and she has self-doubts about how she's going to be able to perform this role, and then how she gets herself into the place where she can, in fact, do it. I am assistant directing on the show. I'm mentoring one of the very talented directors that we have, and that's going to be opening at the beginning of October.
Excellent.
Cool.
So Scorpio does. Do they ever do anything like horror related? Sort of? Or was that? Am I thinking of someone else?
Nothing. No, I think you're thinking of
Mob Hit.
Mob Hit
Mob
did a
Hit
little
used
bit
to do
basement theater productions. I think right now is doing a bunch of horror stuff. But I will let the cat out of the bag a little bit here in that I'm going to be looking into something a little horror themed for next season.
Oh, excellent.
Excellent. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I've written a one-act version of Dracula.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, toot away, my friend.
Yes. Tootly-doot, toot, toot, toot. I wrote Dracula, one act.
Well, we should probably talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I have a theater background.
Oh, okay.
And U of C, I've done stuff with Workshop Theater.
Ah, yes.
And I've done
Calgary's
a lot of
oldest
directing.
community theater company.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, and that was a while ago. But anyway, that we are kind of going off topic here again, as the tangents are.
I feel like this is
one of the
topic.
things I've been
Are we
kicking
on?
around.
Are we on? Okay.
Is I'm looking for somebody who's a good songwriter, a catchy sort of South Park sort of. Give me a C, give me a bouncy C, sort of. Because I would like to do Blood Feast the musical.
Ah.
And we'd need songs written that would be suitable, entertaining, catchy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pop tunes.
I got some guys we can talk to.
good.
Pop
Yeah.
Well,
tunes.
good. This is,
Absolutely.
see how synchronicity works.
Look at this,
Yeah.
guys. Networking.
I'll
Live
even play.
networking
Live
happening
networking.
right before
I would
your
be
eyes.
interested in playing that if you're doing that live.
What do you want to do for what, Ramses?
No, I meant playing that. If you need a live
Oh,
band
oh,
or
oh,
something,
oh,
you know,
I
you need a
see.
live band to do that because what's the fun in doing it to recorded
Yeah,
stuff? You know?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
do Broadway. Let's do live orchestra.
Yep.
Right.
Let's do it. You know, I'd be
I
interested in
always
doing
wanted to perform Hedwig and the Angry Inch as Hedwig.
it. This is
I basically memorized the entire play.
isn't it Canada where it's the angry centimeter? Or...
Yeah, I can see the Angry, 2.3
Angry,
centimeters.
yes, I was gonna say 2.3 centimeters.
Yes. Yes.
We did a number of years ago. We did Slumber Party Massacre the musical.
Oh,
Yeah, that was a few years back, and I was in that. That was a lot of fun.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time. It took on all the tropes and made so many references to a lot of the slumber party themed sorority girl themed genre films. And it was really fun. I actually went through and I found all of the references and I found which movie they were specifically referencing, and I put it all together for the cast and stuff like that. So that was really fun.
Oh, it sounds like it. That'd
Yeah.
be great. Yeah, it's just a matter of catching. You know, I mean, I wanted to go see Evil Dead the musical really badly and sit in the blood splatter section. And as usual, you know, I had no one to go with. So,
Well,
Story of my
I wanted
life.
to do that too, and I wanted to sit in splatter zone, and my wife was like, absolutely fucking not. So I got to see it, but I didn't get to see it in splatter
I'm
zone.
not old enough to go to that kind of theater, so
no. So,
I didn't go.
so yeah. Anything else new? Are you still shooting your web series at all?
No. We like I said, we tried to get funding for season 2, and we just couldn't make a go of it. So we've kind of abandoned that for the time being. Maybe we'll come back to it at a later time. It's too bad the scripts are already written and they're all very, very funny. But we just couldn't generate enough money to do a second season of that. So we're gonna switch our focus now, and we're gonna be doing some podcasts as well, and we're gonna be maybe shooting some short films over the next little while, and we'll get them out onto the interwebs.
The interweb.
The interwebs, and that would be that'll be Writing Therapy Productions.
Okay.
So
Wow.
you can look us up on Facebook, and we have, of course, our first season of Writer Circle on YouTube.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Speaking of short films,
Mhm.
tomorrow Terry and I will be interviewing Janine Burkhart.
Is that her name? Is that? I'm serious. It's like. It's not that
This is
we're
how you
not.
make the sausage, folks.
It's not that
This is how
we're
you
not.
make the sausage.
It's not that we're not prepared. It's just that I just wanted to make sure that it's the right person. So.
Yes.
And,
Yes. Janine wrote and directed a new short film called Chimes, which is doing the festival circuit, and we screened it today. No
Yeah.
spoilers,
18 minutes.
but
And it's genre fair, yeah.
yeah, it's very well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we'll be talking to Janine tomorrow.
Was that shot locally?
No,
No.
Germany.
Germany.
Or,
Yeah.
we're going to be zooming with her in Germany tomorrow.
Oh, awesome.
Really?
Yeah, so
I'll avoid World Cup chatter then.
yes. Janine Bankart.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to make sure you get it right, of course. So we'll be doing that tomorrow, and I don't know whether we'll include it in this episode, because when we start talking, it generally runs. Or we'll do it as a separate interview like we did with Russell Jeffrey Banks.
Yeah.
So one of the two.
He's doing well.
He's doing well.
Since we did that little interview with him, I don't know if you had a chance to see it.
I haven't had a chance to look at it.
No, his new film, Who's Watching Oliver.
Yeah, that's right. You were telling me about that the other day.
Yeah, it's a very good film.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
doing well. It got a release, I think. It's been released.
Oh yeah,
now.
it's been released now.
Oh, yeah, I saw a
Yeah.
picture on
platforms
on your Facebook
Yeah.
there, yeah.
all kinds of platforms, DVD, Blu-ray, available
Yeah.
on Amazon, all over the place. You can stream it on Hulu, everywhere.
Yeah.
So which brings us to movies. Today is July the 16th here, and so a couple of weeks ago we had the 4th of July.
Mhm.
So, as I'm sometimes wont to do, I decided that I would watch films based on the 4th of July, which really, I mean, there's not too many that are specific.
This is a narrow field.
Well, not as narrow as you might think.
Oh, all right.
The one that comes to mind right off the bat is Uncle Sam. Have you guys seen that?
Oh, yeah.
I saw the poster of it.
Yeah, I
honestly.
think that's about all I've seen of it, too.
Uncle Sam.
Okay, well, it was, let me see. How do I put this? It was worse than I remembered when I initially saw it in the news. Because there's just very little gore. Good promise to the, good setup, good production values, good acting, but very little gore.
Yeah.
That you came to expect at that particular point.
So what year was that?
1985.
1985.
Yeah.
Isn't that that's sort of when gore started kind of going away a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I think by the time Friday the 13th Part 3 came around.
Yeah.
It kind of died.
Yeah.
But there are some other 4th of July films. Uncle Sam had fireworks. There's one called You Were Not Alone, about your typical setup where some people go out to a cabin to celebrate the 4th of July.
Wow. Just did they feed Vol?
Yeah, yes, they fed Vol.
Oh my.
So
Don't let them feed Vol.
Terrible idea. It was a very strange sort of film because it was shot POV. Now, I only came to that conclusion about 15, 20 minutes in because it was some of the worst camera that I've seen in a long time. So you go, they're trying for POV.
Right.
So if I'm sitting here and I'm looking at Robert behind the camera, I'm looking at Robert. In my vision, Robert is framed perfectly.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm looking over here, back here, shaking.
Yeah.
Unless, the person whose POV it's from is some kind of fucking epileptic or something.
Yeah, he's in Parkinson's or something.
Having a tremor here.
Yeah, So, it was ultimately unsatisfying. It had fireworks.
Was it, okay, so was it meant to be, like, handheld, or was it meant to be POV?
Well, it was meant to be POV, but they did it handheld.
Right.
So it would be oddly framed.
Right.
And there's a lot of jump cuts. And it just...
How do you jump cut a POV?
So basically it's supposed
the
to be
POV shifts.
Oh.
Found footage. It's supposed to be like found footage or
No. It was
maybe
shot like
that
movie about Henry, where it's all the whole camera is Henry's eyes as he looks around the scene. So
okay, so the POV would switch between the characters?
No, apparently it was supposed to be one character.
Oh, okay.
But it was confusing. There was nothing really to recommend it.
Yeah.
The gore was, again, lacking. And it is some of the worst camera work.
You think it was intentional? Was this what it was supposed to be? Or was it just they shot it in a day and somebody forgot to bring the tripod? Or they lost it somewhere or what?
Well, I think that what ended up happening is when you're looking at the dailies sometimes, you'll notice that there's bad things. And if you don't have a budget to reshoot, then
you just got to go with what you got.
Yeah, got to go with what you got. And it wasn't. It was very unsatisfying. So there was that. And it had fireworks.
What year was that?
Fireworks.
We Were Not Alone, 1999. No, sorry, 2013.
Oh God. Okay.
Now the one point I will give it, and I try to give a good point to every film because we've talked about it before. Anybody who completes a film, I congratulate.
Absolutely.
The killer, when you finally get to see the killer, is very creepy. The dude is creepy.
Okay.
Very creepy. You could see him being the guy who's gonna, stab you to death.
Yeah.
Very effective that way. Which brings us to The Evil in Us, which is, The Evil in Us was a 2016 film that was very superior. It's a Canadian-UK production.
Oh, okay.
And there's two stories. One involves a murder in a city and the police investigation. But there's all, and the gore effects were really good, like the life casts and stuff. So, you know, if you're looking at somebody with part of their face bitten off or whatever, it's pretty realistic.
Okay.
The second part is a group of friends going to a cabin for the 4th of July. And there's fireworks.
Okay.
Yes.
Of the films that, and I Googled this. I was lazy and I just Googled, 4th of July horror.
Okay.
And those are the ones that incessantly came up. This one was very good. It involves, when the kids are out at the cabin, they're doing some lines of coke. And what it involves is evil, sort of psychopathic scientists who work for the deep state trying to affect some election results. So it's kind of timely in that way. But so you've got these two stories that intertwine at the end, and it's very, very effective. And again, Gold Canada, because it was really suspenseful. And did it scare me? No. But was it suspenseful? I mean, even the scenes where, the heroine is being chased by the killer. And there's multiple killers.
Right? Jesus.
Well, no, it's like saying in a zombie film, all the zombies are killers.
Well.
Jesus, just spoilers left, right, and center, Jim. What the hell, man?
But there was fireworks.
I'm going to get around to watching a zombie movie one of these days.
We're going to send you to feed balls soon, man.
So good gore, good production values.
So why was a Canadian production doing a story about the 4th of July?
Sell to the Americans, I guess.
A little marketing
now
or something.
Are you sure it was about the 4th of July, not Canada Day?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
You say tomato, I say tomato. But no, it's clearly the American flag.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, okay.
Which brings us to a movie called The Fireworks Woman, which was also known as Angela is the Fireworks Woman.
Did they have fireworks?
There was fireworks.
Interestingly, of all the films, no, that one didn't have any.
That one didn't. Yeah.
So the film involves incest. And what it turns out to be is a hardcore XXX horror film. Done in what was it now?
1910.
Yeah, done in 1910. It was
Super hot.
1975.
Oh, okay.
So you've got, our story opens with a brother and sister who, during a moment of weakness, have sex. He regrets it instantly because he's going to become a priest. So right off the bat, you've got incest with like a priest. So it is a hardcore, and she of course wants more.
Right.
And throughout the whole film, it's what she's willing to do to reignite that spark, I guess you could say. So it contains oral, anal, double penetration. Jesus. Incest with a priest. A woman being whipped with and boned by the handle of a cat of nine tails. Surprisingly, at the end, the climax of the film, and no pun intended, there's what would normally be considered a happy ending, but
don't give it away.
But so it depends on your outlook on these things. Now, the reason that I even mention this film is by the reason being, it was directed by a gentleman named under the pseudonym of Abe Snake. Wes Craven.
Really?
Wes Craven directed this, and he also has an uncredited role in it as a kind of a pivotal character, you might say. So you've got a 1975
Is he
Triple X porn
taking taking part in the hardcore stuff?
No. No, you don't get to see any Craven weenies.
Any little Wes's?
Yeah, no one's Craven. So yeah, I mean, that was interesting.
Wow,
so,
how do
so
I
where,
follow that?
Yeah. Where did
Yeah.
you see this?
And
it was available for streaming.
Oh, okay.
But it's rare. I mean, how many people even know about it? I didn't know of its existence. And if you look on Wes Craven's IMDb, way down below under acting, 1975, The Fireworks Movie.
Okay.
So yeah, and it has a bit of his style, his directorial style, and storytelling to it. But I never knew he directed Triple X film.
Now that you've mentioned it, I believe that I'd heard that once upon a time. But that's about the extent of my knowledge of it.
Right. Which would lead naturally into my next film that I watched.
Oh, you watched a lot.
Is this? I mean, are we just like degenerating into a porn conversation here? Is that what's going to happen?
But
because I was down for that. I was just wondering.
No. The next film on the list that I watched was called
Nude for Satan.
And it was, again, about that period, 1975 or so, which apparently there was a lot of Triple X horror out of Italy, which I really, I wasn't really aware of it that much.
Well, that would be, you'd have like erotic Nights of the Living Dead in there as well, probably.
Yeah. But it was a strangely...
Was that around the time of Caligula as well?
Around that time.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because Nude for Satan was 1974. And it's strangely compelling. I mean, basically all it has is oral, a lot of oral. No real money shots in this one like the previous one.
Right.
But it's very typical of an Italian supernatural film of the era, where you're not quite sure what's going on. And back in a day, when they actually had money for sets and stuff, and they were all shot in 35 millimeter. I was talking to an associate of mine who used to be in pornographic marketing in the 80s, and he remembers this particular film.
Mm-hmm.
And he remembers Angela as the fireworks woman.
Oh, okay.
This, it was very well done. There was actually a scene, well, I shouldn't say very well done. There's a scene where a woman is on a very, fake-looking spider web trapped, and you can clearly tell, it's rope.
Yeah. I think I've seen this still.
And she's being menaced by this ridiculous-looking spider.
So are you saying production values are a little off on this?
On the spider.
On the spider, okay.
Yeah, the spider was terrible.
That's a spider, man.
Spider was thrown in the last minute.
But then I wondered, this is 74. I wondered if, in 1998, Jess Franco didn't pay homage to it in Mary Cookie and the Killer Tarantula, because there's a scene very much like the fake rope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and this time, of course, the spider's got a human face. But the worst part about
Nude for Satan
was the dub. Because you got a very masculine looking hero. Voice, not so masculine. It kind of reminds me of sort of a higher pitched Tommy Wiseau.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, very stilted. So if somebody went in and actually redubbed that dialogue, it'd be much more effective.
Right.
But the voice is so stupid and so badly sort of dubbed that it just takes you out of the motion picture.
Yeah.
And you guys are smiling all the time.
Yeah.
But it was actually a very strangely compelling film.
I've heard that title before, and like I said, I think I've seen some stills from it.
Yeah, Nudus per Satana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that like? I think we were talking
You don't
too
want-
about Nude on the Moon.
Oh, Nude on the... Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we should.
Dave Trainer gets in touch with me, says, have you seen Nude on the Moon? No. This is on YouTube, and it's fully uncut. And apparently it's these guys go to the moon. And the moon is basically full of naked women frolicking on a beach.
Okay.
Yeah, or around a cement pool.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because that's what you do on the moon.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
It's true.
All that. All
It's
that
true.
direct-
It's true.
That's
Close your
somewhat-
eyes and you're there. You know?
Leading scientists have
Yes.
said it's true.
It's true. But no librarians do, because they. That's another reference.
So that takes care of the 4th of July. Did you watch any Friday the 13th on the occasion?
Of course. Yeah. I watched. Did I get through all of them? I'm not sure if I got through all of them. I might have skipped a few. Because I need to get to Jason X. Because fuck the haters. I think that one's really fun.
Jason in space.
Yeah, Jason in space. God damn it! It doesn't take itself seriously for even a second, and I love it.
That's a lot like us sometimes.
Yeah. and it
Seriously.
contains the best line in the entire series.
Kind of thing.
It's okay, guys. He just wanted his machete back.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the best line.
I went and saw that in the theater the opening night. And it was just when West Hills opened.
Oh yeah,
And they actually had like ushers and stuff.
Yeah,
They would
yeah.
usher you to your
that's
seat.
right.
And at the end, at the beginning of every show, they would ask you a trivia question. And it was like, I mean, the theater was half packed, maybe. You know, it's not like, you know, it's an Avengers film or something.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
So the question was, does anybody know who plays Jason Voorhees? And I'm looking around, and no one's. People are looking down. And
Yeah.
Kane Hodder, you know. Okay, well, you win, you know, a double pass with popcorn and you know that kind of
Sure.
thing. She hands me a certificate. It's like pretty common knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was going to watch the reimagining, but you know, I hated it so much the first time. I didn't go back.
I hear you. I absolutely agree. I really like Derek Mears as Jason Voorhees. I think he's probably my second favorite Jason Voorhees. Nobody beats Kane. Sorry, hands down. But but the rest of the film is just it's a story that didn't need telling.
I know. That was my thought. You know, you really don't need the glimpses into his mother. You don't need that.
No, it was totally unnecessary.
Totally.
Much like giving Michael Myers a backstory, right? We didn't want it. We didn't need it.
True. Although I do like Zombie's take on it.
Yeah.
The first one, not the second.
I gotta, you know what? I'm gonna say something wildly unpopular here.
Really?
Yeah.
On this show?
Yeah. Hot take, guys. Hot take. I'm getting
Yeah.
edgy.
Okay.
I don't get the Halloween movies. I don't get why people like them. I don't like them myself. They are a franchise I could absolutely do without. And don't get me wrong, I loves me some John Carpenter, but I just cannot understand that series. I cannot wrap my head around why people like it. I tried watching a little while ago. I tried watching the first and second one again because I thought, you know, or from remembering them from when I was younger and hating them, I thought there must be something I'm missing here. I got to go back and rewatch them and see if I can find that, if I can give them some justice. And I got to tell you, I couldn't.
Well, if it wasn't young PJ Souls' naked breasts, what about Donald Pleasance?
Yeah, I mean, yes, and Donald Pleasance is great, and you can watch him read the phone book and probably be drunk while he was doing it. But that was great, but it wasn't. I mean, that's not enough to save a film, right? I mean, the funny thing is that I love Friday the 13th movies, and there's not a lot more to them than there is to Halloween movies. But for some reason, I can't I can't make that jump.
There's an interesting take on that for what you were saying about not liking one series. So you actually would prefer Friday the 13th to Halloween
Yeah.
then?
Oh,
Okay.
easily.
What studios make those? Because sometimes you'd have a studio would make, well, we need something to follow Friday the 13th. So bang, we got to have, let's do a Halloween.
Initially,
you know?
Friday the 13th was Paramount.
You know.
Yeah.
So Paramount distributed that, right?
And
So
I think
and Halloween is Universal. Was that or
Columbia? I think.
So
I can't say for certain.
yeah, we'd have to check that. And The Hills Have Eyes, and then the Texas Chainsaws.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of those. So it could be studios saying, you know, hey, this worked one. Let's do it again.
Let's try and
do it
make our
again.
own.
Let's do it again. Let's do it
Yeah.
again. You know, the same as I think when you were talking earlier about some of your theater stuff, and you were talking about the slumber party
Yeah.
massacre genre
Yeah.
and everything. You know, let's do one. Let's do one. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and people do that.
Yeah, that
So that's
turns out
probably
there's a
okay.
lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's in a way good. The
Yeah.
horror genre, because I mean, we have gotten some, the sleepaway camp films.
That Sleepaway Camp blows me away. The first one. I just viewed it today again for the very first time, and amazing ending.
Mhm.
You know.
But that's literally it.
Yeah.
Like the rest of the movie is pretty much garbage.
It's like
But that end
Yeah.
shot is so memorable
Yeah.
that's the only reason that movie survives in anybody's memory.
it's kind of like Meatballs. You know,
Yeah.
the sort of a trumped up version of Meatballs.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you said that word, not trumped up.
Oof, don't-
No. Yeah, it's something like that, or and it used kids, real adolescent actors.
That's true.
Actually, that turned out pretty well.
Yeah.
They you're a little technique trouble, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
But they were pretty natural, and you're talking about 80s, not that 80s all the way through it.
Oh,
Well, that's funny because I watched it. I rewatched it again, not
Yeah.
super long ago, and I remember being blown away by the first 95% of that movie and how shitty it was, and how I didn't remember how shitty it was.
Yeah.
Because that last bit was everything.
And we're not going to tell you what it is because you can go view it. And
That's
just
Jim will though. Don't worry about
And-
that.
I
I'm
won't,
spoiling
I
and
won't,
it.
I won't spoil it.
don't just go to the last 10 minutes of it. Watch the whole thing.
Mhm.
And now that we've said the end is always good,
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but there's a build up and there's a reason why there's
yeah,
an
no, I
ending
mean,
like that.
the Sleepaway
So-
Camp 2 and 3 were pretty much more of the same.
I have not. I read the synopsis of those. So
But again, it's another franchise, and it's
Yeah.
if you want to sit there and just watch a movie on a Saturday night, it's
Yeah.
perfectly fine.
the other one
Yeah,
was
super low in the gore
Yeah.
quotient though.
Yeah, there was, but actually there was some pretty subjective stuff. Like there's the one with the curling iron. You
Mhm.
just see her hands, the
Yeah.
reflection of her hands. Look, I can do that
Yeah.
here.
Hey.
Yeah.
You just made a Sleepaway Camp movie.
Yes,
I
yes,
hope you're happy.
yes, I did. I was not having St. Vitus is not having a dance. I was actually doing something here. But I watched Slumber Party Massacre.
Yeah.
Too, and that was another one. I thought there a lot of these times when we were talking about these two, is you find there are moments in these that like really work.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're going, this is really, and then of course then there's the dumb stuff and everything. Not everything is the way it is,
Party 2.
the way it should be. Is it?
The only thing Slumber Party. The only thing I remember really is Brink Stevens has a shower.
Yeah.
And gets killed in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's really about all I remember.
And yeah, she's the
that's problematic.
Wasn't she the handy woman or something? In the van or something? It's not. I
No,
don't
she
remember that.
was
I got.
one of the school kids.
Oh, okay.
I think probably at the time she was like 25 or 26. But,
There is some pretty cool stuff in it. Like there's adolescent jock humor and stuff like that all the way through it, and beer drinking, and it always seemed to be the ongoing theme of those people that indulged in sexual activity were to be the victims. Of course, that's nothing new in these things.
No.
But there was some pretty cool stuff, like when the couple go into the tent, in the backyard and everything, and yeah, you can see it coming, but it was pretty well handled.
Wasn't there a precocious teenage sister or something in that?
Yes.
Film? Oh, yeah.
It's the one that steals the Playgirl. Maybe I'm getting it confused here. She steals the Playgirl, and she says she's doing her biology project.
Yeah, she was so annoying in the
Yeah,
film.
and her sister says, "Yeah, just don't tear the fold-outs."
No, I was hoping for the killer on that one.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I noticed.
I always found that the best part of those Slumber Party Massacre movies were the covers of the VHS boxes.
Yeah, generally speaking.
Those were, like, 3 has a pretty wild one, right? Isn't that the one where the guy's got, like, the electric guitar and it's got, like, the drill bit at the end of it, and
I think so.
he's like standing there with, like, no shirt on or something, and there are all these ladies, like, at his legs and stuff.
Thanks. Now I gotta look this up for the editing process. Every time we mention a film, it's gonna put up the post.
Yeah, there you go.
That was a strange a strange protagonist in that film, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Walking around with sort of the garden hoe or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Drill or
Or
something.
like an auger.
Yeah.
And walking around and swinging it like
Well,
this.
I think the name Driller Killer was already.
That's what I
taken.
thought.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah,
That's what I thought.
Actually, I think that that video box references Driller Killer on it. Although that was clearly after the movie The Driller Killer had come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to keep mentioning a few films, and if you've seen them, pipe right in, because this is what I watched.
Right in.
The one remake I did watch, because I was bored one evening.
Am I going to get a lot of hate mail about Halloween, by the way?
Oh, who cares?
No. If you do, we'll pass it your way.
Thank you. I'd love that.
Because we're equal opportunity here. Just remember, hate mail goes this way.
Actually, if anyone can explain to me why the Halloween movies are good and why I should like them, leave them in the comments below.
Yeah.
I want to read that.
Yeah.
And be nice too. Be nice.
Yeah, right now there's somebody out there who's going, these guys have to die.
Who's stewing right now, right?
He's stewing, and he's going to
so
stalk
bad.
us, and we're going to be the subject of our own horror film.
Yeah.
No, or there's somebody out there going, I only saw the most recent one. What do they mean?
Oh, God. That person's probably like 20, though.
Yeah.
That makes me sad.
Yeah.
So I did go back and I watched the Evil Dead remake. And I enjoyed it more than I remembered. No, it's clearly. I mean, it was well done.
I'm not chiming in. I'm just
the effects were very good.
Okay.
A different take on things.
Yeah.
When her arm is trapped under that Jeep and stuff, and it's.
When she cuts her tongue in half. That's a pretty great effect.
Yeah. So it was very good, and it's at the end when Bruce Campbell at the end of the credits gives his, thumbs up. You go, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And apparently they're talking remake to a sequel to that film. So.
A sequel to the remake?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that as well, actually.
Yeah. So.
I wonder if Fede Alvarez will be associated with that.
I think he's writing and directing.
Oh, great!
Yeah. So good.
It's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I liked that movie quite a bit. I thought it retained a lot of the intent, the tone of the original, without treading over too much of the same ground, but still making sure that we all knew it was a remake. Right.
What I enjoyed was the sort of the what would you even call the guy? You wouldn't call him a millennial, but kind of the sensitive friend,
the empathic fellow.
Yeah, and everything is happening to him that could possibly happen.
He gets shit kicked in that movie. I started off. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I started off that movie not liking him at all, and by the end of it, I was just like, "Oh, would you guys just fucking leave him alone for Christ's sake?"
Yeah. No, So that was my foray back in time. So,
With the Wayback Machine, right?
yeah, now we'll go way back with a movie called Peeping Tom.
Oh.
I recently did an interview with Tracy over at Scream Radio, and she said, "Have you ever seen Peeping Tom?" I said, "No, I haven't." It's a 1960 film. Have you seen it?
I haven't, but I know a fair bit about
Yes.
Okay, yeah, deemed too controversial and pretty much ruined director Michael Powell's career.
Yeah.
But if you look at it now, and I can understand it, because for 1960, I mean, it's some risque subject matter.
it. Sure.
Well, you were getting in that time too in the cinema. You were getting Antonioni's blow up, which the David Hemmings thing, which was still pretty controversial as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting this kind of the darker version of the swinging '60s,
mm-hmm.
which is what he had. And Peeping Tom is an acknowledged classic of British cinema.
And of course, the poor guy, when it's finally recognized as such, he's damn near, 80 years old.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing, right? Is that you say now that it's an accepted classic,
Now
but,
it is,
but it literally just got there.
Sometimes when we say that they're classics, is that they become classics for their time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily, some transcend that, and for you look at that year that was made, and the other type of horror pictures and films that was going on. That was a completely different take on how the British did some nasty stuff then, like with their horror pictures.
Yeah, and the Blu-ray was pristine. It looks like it was shot yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, it happens once in a while when, of course, a movie doesn't get played all that much. So
yeah, fair enough.
Because really, it was pulled out of theaters very quickly, and it really, really, his career went on the decline.
I think Criterion has a version.
Yeah.
That.
Oh, I'd love to get a Criterion.
I think they do. I'm not sure on that. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. No doubt I will myself.
But do it nicely, guys.
Yeah, to be nice.
Don't be dicks.
Yeah. What else did you see?
Well,
you do a lot of viewing. You did a lot more than I did. Did you get any food when you were doing this?
Oh, popcorn.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta have popcorn.
They put a pail under you too, or something.
Yeah. I put in a catheter and I just lay there and.
Yeah.
Oh, the lap of luxury.
Yeah, I cannot. I can only watch 2 films back to back.
Right.
And then I have to take a break.
Yeah.
So
see the world.
I either I have to go out and look at a blue sky or something.
I do too. But when you're an insomniac, a lot of times I'll be able to get 2 in one evening. So it's diverse. Susan Voorhees, one of our previous guests, recommended a movie called Headless. Have you seen that one?
I do know of Headless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there fireworks?
No, there was no fireworks.
Okay.
But I found it very disturbing. And there was just something about the imagery. And the dude, taking the heads and then fucking them up the windpipe.
Yeah.
Not a feel-good film.
You didn't feel the love?
Not a date movie. No,
it's not. Well,
but it was very well done.
Yeah.
In its way, because it at the opening it says this is a lost film from the 80s, and so it looks very much like a sort of an 80s direct-to-video, of course with today's effects.
Yeah.
But I found it vaguely disturbing, and I don't know why. In the same way something like Sallow did.
Not compelling?
Not compelling. No, not
strangely compelling, vaguely disturbing.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Come on, let's not put it on the same level as Sallow. Sallow is highly upsetting.
No, I know. No, but in the same manner that you get that disquieting feeling as you're watching.
Yeah.
I kind of got that with Headless.
Yeah. There wasn't much fun to it.
Yeah, there's nothing fun about it. And while the guy's doing all this, there's a kid sitting there with this fucking bizarre fucking mask on. It's
Yeah.
never explained watching.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre. Speaking of bizarre films, there's one called Tonight She Comes, which is...
This is also a
This-
hardcore.
No, it's not a hardcore porno film. I mean, there's no fireworks. But it is about a group of people who get, of course, trapped in the woods.
There's
with
a new
a
premise.
very much more supernatural bent to it.
Yeah.
And again,
Why can't you? Why do we have to get trapped in the woods? Why can't we find our way out of the woods, or get trapped in something different?
I'm coming to that.
Shoot when it's trapped in a phone booth. That would be something.
I believe Joel Schumacher did that.
Yeah. I'm stuck in the phone booth. Actually, the Phantom Toll booth. Actually,
All I kept thinking when I watched Tonight She Comes was, what the fuck? What the fuck? Because I'm not, I've watched a lot of film, but I'm trying to figure out what this film is about. And even at the end, it eluded me. Yes, there was witchcraft involved, but you go, well, okay. And scenes designed to shock, blood and stuff.
Right.
You watch a woman reach down and pull a tampon from herself, and,
Right.
Not really. You don't get to see that.
Yeah.
But while we're on this subject, I watched a movie called Blood and Gore Nightmare.
Blood and Gore Nightmare.
Yeah,
there's a title.
yeah.
Indeed.
There was some blood. There was
There
some
was
gore, and someone had a nightmare.
Was it you while you were watching it?
Yeah, and the biggest thing, is a couple real close-ups, and this is a fairly recent indie film of they like to show wide open vaginas.
Oh.
I have
So
nothing to say to that.
Yeah, well,
So,
again, it's just, I don't know if it's, it's...
I feel like we're getting a very interesting peek into your psychology.
You found that? Oh, yes, I'm. Yeah, this is curious.
Okay, well, there's that.
If we have any psychologists out there watching, if you could take a cross section of everything James has watched
You know what,
and give us a diagnosis, it would be
I'm-
very helpful.
I'm going to segue into that what you just said about the female part. I watched a picture called, and I'm sure you've heard of it. It's called Teeth.
Teeth. I was just
Oh,
about to
yes.
say.
Teeth.
Yeah.
And
Vagina dentata.
yes, and it's to explain that and everything. It's much better if you look that up in on the internet and everything. But I was thinking, okay, this is going to be one of those frat boy films, where they run around and go pussy, like the guy with the knife and everything.
Oh,
And
the
then
rabbit.
yeah, the rabbit. What was that? Rabbit.
Bunny the Killer Thing.
Bunny the Killer Thing.
Was it? You know more than I do here. This wasn't it. This was actually a really Teeth. I thought was really good.
It
Really
was.
well done.
It was really well
very
done.
well done.
Yeah.
And the premise is that a young girl, first of all, she preaches abstinence to her school, and she's the actual poster child for abstinence, and she calls it the promise, and she gives people a ring, and says, "This is what you promise, that you will save yourself, men and women, save yourself for your intended when you have your matrimonial nuptials." And of course, being the film, she strays, of course, loses the ring, and she basically removes men's genitalia when she gets aroused, and also when she gets angered.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Oh,
Did you see Teeth and everything? I thought the ending was very apropos for that. I'm not going to tell you the ending, but she uses her powers for good. You can say that.
Yes,
She
yeah,
uses
you
her
could. Yeah,
powers for
absolutely.
good,
Yeah, you could.
you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
And I don't want to destroy anything for people that want to see it, but if you want to see an interesting take on abstinence, high school kids, that was what, 1974, wasn't it? Or-
Teeth? No, it was later.
Is it?
A lot later.
Teeth? Oh, no, way later.
There's
Late
80.
2000s.
In the 80s.
Yeah, I want to say
Was
it's
it
2000.
2014 or something? So
No, it's about 2010. I think.
20.
Somewhere around there.
2008, 2010.
Yeah.
The gist of it is, if you want to see, some kids wrestling with sexuality, wrestling with their emotions about it, and especially that you've seen the film,
Mhm.
the brother,
Yeah.
the layabout brother, and what he does,
Yeah.
and and what she does to him, and when there's actually domestic violence in there, and he beats the father up,
Yeah.
some pretty heavy issues on there, but. That was one of the ones I watched.
Yeah, very well made film. Very
Yeah.
good film. Not like you say, not at all the film you think it's going to be.
No, it isn't. You think there's some. It's going to be a joke.
It's going to be or exploitive.
Yeah, and
Right.
in some ways there is. There are some moments of it and everything, but there's. It's an interesting look about adolescence.
But it's
Yeah.
it's got more
Yeah.
teeth than that.
Yeah, it's got more bite to it.
Uh,
Oh yes,
With
Yes.
that, we're going to take a short break.
yes.
We'll be right back.
My name's.
Hey, Mr. Moon Man, shine your light on me.
A serial killer.
Hey, Mr. Moon Man, shine on me.
You think he looks for his victims in churches?
What happened?
Let me go.
Where is she, Paul?
For the first time in my life, I felt something.
According to the backwater Yoko in there, we took a wrong turn.
This thing's busted.
You're busted.
What kind of a town is this anyway? Isn't it supposed to be the 4th of July? Where the hell is everybody?
Nice catch. Friendly folks around these parts.
Great. I'm not getting any service.
It's pretty sweet. Just needs a few coats of paint.
What it needs is a flamethrower.
Join the party. What's this?
It's Happy Juice. Happy Fun!
Are you okay, man?
Wheeler, look at me, look at me, look at me. Oh my god.
Why did he flip out? What did you do?
I heard him talking to himself at the car today.
I saw him. He was taking something. Wheeler? Wheeler, what?
My name's Russell Jeffrey Banks. Hope you check out Who's Watching Oliver. Keep watching Sinister Inclinations.
Hi, welcome back to Sinister Inclinations. We're here with Keith Kollee, and we're discussing movies. So I'll finish off the ones that I watched here,
Yeah.
and then we'll move on to some viewer questions.
Yes.
When James Shelley was on, he mentioned Winchester. And that was a ghost story, which actually, big budget, because it's a period piece. Some fine actors. You have Helen Mirren.
Yes.
In what was basically a fairly tepid ghost story, relying a lot on, of course, jump scares.
Yeah.
But no, and there were some CGI that was kind of, well done in its own way, frightening and strangely compelling.
There's probably fireworks.
Yeah, no fireworks.
No. Hey, speaking of fireworks, I can interject. I saw humanoids from the deep.
Oh.
And that I think that has fireworks in
Does
it
it?
as
Yeah,
well.
it might.
It does, because it's got a festival. I don't know whether it's a 4th of July thing or what. It might fit in your 4th of July.
It might.
That's the one with Doug McClure.
Yeah.
There's Roger Corman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the first soundtrack ever done by James Horner, who went on to do Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 3. So we've discussed some Netflix things. Night of the Werewolf. I think it's a 2012 movie. Fairly predictable. If you don't figure out 3/4 of the way through what's happening, you haven't watched many movies.
Fair enough.
There was inconsistencies in the logic, but a fairly decent CGI werewolf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very, very well done.
That was something we talked about at Fair Length last time I was here.
Yeah, and so much better than any shitty werewolf mask that you can put on.
Right.
And we did watch some of the films that you recommended. I really loved Where.
Yeah.
Howl. I think you mentioned that too, didn't you?
Howl?
Howl?
No, I don't think Howl was me.
Oh.
But
we watched it.
Where and Late Phases were the ones that I mentioned.
Late Phases was a good film.
Yeah.
Very good film. So Night
Yeah,
of the
you were
Werewolf.
gonna lend me Where, because I haven't seen it yet.
Oh yeah, well
Yeah.
Fix you
We'll
up.
do that.
I'm gonna fix you up. What else did I watch? I watched because I've been on kind of a Paul Nashy kick since we talked.
Nice.
I went back. I watched House of Psychotic Women.
Oh yeah.
It was decent, but there's not many psychotic women.
Depends where you go.
Well, not in this particular movie. No. In fact, there were no really psychotic women to speak of. I find that the Nashi films, after a while, become very formulaic.
Sure. Yeah.
Extremely formulaic. But they are what they are, Terry and I were talking about a more recent one that he did towards the end of his life.
Oh,
where he's playing a werewolf, but he's quite old. So you're dealing with kind of a stout werewolf,
right?
Yeah, and we thought that would be a great series of films.
Was the character meant to be aged as well?
Yeah, well, he was.
He
was what? So he was 70. He passed away, I think, at 75, and he was 71 when he made this.
Oh wow!
And he had not, kept his svelte figure.
Right.
So you end up with a stout werewolf.
Yeah.
We thought that'd be great. Because the werewolf doesn't know, that all he does is he transforms and he's the werewolf and he's in this stout body.
Yeah.
Going, geez, I get winded easy. I'd like to chase this guy, but I can't.
Catching prey's a real bitch now.
Here's a little known factoid about humanoids from the deep. I just had to look it up while these guys were banging back here. One of the crew members was Gail Ann Hurd.
Yes.
She's listed in the crew. I saw that go by and everything, and I just looked up, and she's executive producer now of Fear of the Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And
Gail Ann Hurd's made her.
Yeah, and she made lots of them, lots of films. But she started.
She won an Oscar, did she not?
Yeah, she's produced Raising Cain, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Tremors.
She won an Oscar before her ex-husband, James Cameron, did.
Yeah. She was a crew member, Roger Corman's crew, for Humanoids from the Deep. So that shows when you do independent film, you can get somewhere.
That's right.
And it doesn't happen to everybody, but it happened to her.
There you go.
Yes. Now I can lay back down.
You go back to sleep, Terry.
I'll go back to sleep.
Another one I revisited was the 1984 film, the Canadian production, Incubus. Not the Shatner film.
Okay.
Not the William Shatner film where it's all in Esperanto. Based upon, it was directed by John Ho. I don't even know how to pronounce this. John Hough. He directed such things as The Legend of Hell House and stuff. But so you've got this story about an incubus, based on Ray Russell's novel, and I really enjoyed the novel when it first came out. So I watched the movie and then I thought, oh well, I haven't seen it in so many years. John Cassavetes.
He's an amazing guy, John Cassavetes.
And an amazing, it was a pretty good film.
Yeah.
It's not what you expect, with a real twist at the end. So
that's not the one where the poster is like, it's got like a baby's bottle and it's got like some weird creature inside of it.
No,
am I thinking of The Progeny?
Prophecy.
Or It's Alive.
Prophecy.
No, that's a Christopher Walken film. Prophecy. I think it's The Progeny. I think that's the one I'm thinking of.
Okay. I also watched Harvest Lake. That's a film with Tristan Risk and Ellie Church, and it's sexual body horror.
Oh,
not bad at all. You've got the two newer generation scream queens, and what it points out is that really one of them can act and one can't. And I'll leave it at that. Not a bad film, sexual horror. Pretty good. I revisited.
What was it called again?
Harvest Lake.
Harvest Lake.
Yeah.
That's next to Eden Lake.
Oh.
Yeah, or Blood Lake.
Do you like Eden Lake? Did you see it?
I didn't like that one.
You didn't?
No. That's the one where they're in the woods and the teenagers are stalking them.
Doing what teenagers do.
Yeah. Awful creatures.
So.
Yeah. No, I didn't like that one. It was a little too unsettling for me. It just hit a little too realistic almost.
Which was it?
Eden Lake.
Eden Lake, yes. Okay. Yeah, I can see what you mean.
Here's another known factoid about Humanoids from the Deep. Guy who did special effects, Rob Bottin.
Rob Bottin, yeah.
Oh, what did I call him? Rob
Bottin?
Oh,
I used to call him Bottin, but then I heard it's.
Yes.
I believe it's pronounced Bottin.
Yes, he was the Humanoids creator and the designer. I thought I saw his name on the credits there. Howling too, didn't he? Did he do that?
Yeah. And the first one too.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah.
Very good job. Yeah, he was top of his field.
And The Thing is him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was fucking good.
Yeah.
I mean, The Thing to me is still a high watermark.
Oh yeah, and talk about unnecessary reimaginings.
Right? Oh, don't even. Nope.
So
this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be like pop-up video, right? Every 5 minutes or so, Terry's just gonna chime in with another little tidbit about Humanoids from the Deep.
I'm
the costume designer.
I'm like the window that opens up when you're watching some program or something.
Yeah, totally.
So I also went back and I was watching some, Italian horror.
All right. From Italy. From
Italy.
From Italy.
I watched Faceless, the Jess Franco film.
Oh yeah.
It's really quite twisted.
Yeah.
It really is. With the Nazi doctor and stuff like that. It's and even the effects for the time. When they're making the incision and trying to pull the face apart.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Yeah.
Shockingly so.
Yeah.
Shockingly compelling.
Shockingly compelling.
I don't know why I said that.
And then I also watched Beyond the Darkness. Joe D'Amato directed it.
Lucky D'Amato.
Joe D'Amato. Good gore.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good gore. And it had the girl from The Beyond. The woman from The Beyond with the blank eyes.
Oh yes, yeah,
blind
the blonde. Yeah.
Very beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And she stars in this, and it's in a way.
Lucky D'Amato.
Yeah. So it was that was a really enjoyable film. I thought that was great. Beyond the Darkness. That's worthwhile checking out.
So you watched Headless and Faceless. Tell me you watched those on the same night.
Yeah. No, I didn't. And right now on Netflix Canada, there's a movie called The Ritual that's made in Europe. And you don't see many monster movies these days.
Yeah.
And this one is really quite good. It's about these guys trapped in a forest being stalked by a monster.
Okay.
The forest again.
Well, the forest, yeah, the
forest.
And then I watched The Forest.
Yes. Where can people get trapped in that is not a forest? No.
An
Let's just
elevator.
toss this around. An elevator?
Was-
Yeah.
was
And that
this-
movie
that's
was
been done,
excellent,
though.
right?
What is this elevator?
Devil.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, what else? What are we running out of places to put these
Trapped in
things?
a shopping center.
Yes.
Little Dawn of the Dead.
We've done the desert too with Tremors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And did a bar like with
From Dusk Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
But what's the other one I'm thinking of? It was the Project Greenlight winner. And they made a whole bunch of them. Crap.
Trapped in crap.
Trapped in crap. That would be terrifying.
Yeah, the outhouse of terror.
The outhouse. Things are piling up.
Oh, what
Yeah.
is the name of that movie? It's driving me crazy.
I don't know.
Where the characters all come into the bar in the beginning and they like freeze frame and they're like, "This is the hero. He'll make it through to the end." And then they freeze frame on the other person and they're like, "This person will be dead in 10 minutes." And they start that off. And
There's one for our viewers.
Yeah.
And it's got the gal who played Emmanuel a couple of times.
Sylvia Christel.
That was no. She was also on Days of Our Lives.
I'm not familiar.
Oh God, this is gonna drive me crazy. I'll get it for you.
Yeah, we can do another window like I was doing with the facts.
Pop-up window.
The pop-up windows with the facts.
The reason I'm doing this tonight and I made a list was because sure as shit, the minute we stopped taping, I go, I remember. I remember.
Talk about that.
Fuck. So there's two more that fit into kind of the Friday the 13th thing. One is called Mad Men. Have you ever seen that one?
Mad Men?
Mad
Man. Yeah.
Actually,
Mad Men Mars.
Here. I didn't watch it, but
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's okay.
Not enough gore.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's got Galen Ross.
Yeah.
Who was in Dawn of the Dead?
Yes.
And that was really, the two things that I would say make it remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. A little gore could have saved that one, though, I think.
Yeah. And then I watched Camp Blood, First Slaughter.
You threatened me with watching that too.
Okay. Well, out of all the films I've watched, now at the end of these 20-odd films, I'll give you the worst.
It was the most human.
I don't know what to say about this film. It's so poorly done, conceived, shot, with the most ridiculous gore effects. They obviously couldn't pay actors. Obviously.
Not that that's any barometer.
No, but I mean, but what they did do was they spent some money on CGI.
Okay.
So the budget mostly, I guess, went into this bad-looking CGI. The kind that spurts onto the camera and, all of that.
So this is fairly recent, then?
It's about 2013 or something.
Okay.
It is punishing. First of all...
That's rough.
First of all, you watch the film and you see the kills. And then it cuts to a news station. Yes, well, the footage we're about to show you is very disturbing. And they talk about these campers who were killed at Camp Blood because murders had happened there previously. And so they show you all the same stuff again.
Like the news cameraman was the film cameraman and just stood by and complicitly watched all these people get butchered.
Yeah, and then you get to, and so you get to see the same kills again in their mediocrity. Okay. And as I say, I try to say something nice about every film. This one is only 72 minutes.
72 minutes.
Yeah, and that's it. I hate to say avoid this one at all costs, but I
don't think I can now.
No.
Well,
I think I have to go and watch this now.
Oh,
yeah.
It's as poor gets on the low end of the indie spectrum.
Your description is making me think of Don't Go Into the Woods Alone.
Or don't fuck in the woods. Or...
No, actually, I can
Don't Fuck in
find
the
that.
Woods.
I actually saw that. Don't look in the basement.
Don't Look in the Basement.
Don't look in the basement.
Which brings us to the best film that I've seen.
Did you do both of those in the same night?
Did you?
No.
I can chime in here for one of the best ones and most unsettling one, Terrifier.
Terrifier, yes, Terrifier. I was just about to say Terrifier.
You were?
Yes. The
That was a blown up version of a short picture, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, and it was crowdfunded.
Yeah.
And it was I think the first release by Dread Central as a distribution company.
It's a Dread Central.
It's by turns funny, creepy. Were you kind of amazed that the lead actress, how much they made her look like Neve Campbell?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Freaky, wasn't it?
That's what I thought, and one of the most unsettling things for myself in that film was the use. I've never seen. Perhaps you people have seen this, or the viewers out there have seen this, but I've never seen a killer in this type of film use a gun. He had knives and sort of other stuff.
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah, he used a gun. He used a gun, but a pistol.
Yeah.
A big honking pistol. And there's a moment in it when he's already done something or whatever, and he stands over and he goes bang, and he shoots her right in the cheek, which was reference to, I'm not going to use the word, but it happened in Denver. There was an event that happened in Denver years ago, and one of the people, the survivors of it, claimed that they woke up and found parts of their face actually laying next to them because of certain people that did a certain event at a school, and I'm not going to glorify that event. And this is something for that. It just went right up close, goes bam, right in the cheek. Right. And you don't see the splatter, you see an actual hole.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very much like real life.
Yeah.
I think it was Faces of Death.
Yeah.
Where these guys had thrown this guy with his hands and legs tied behind him into a ditch and shot him point blank in the face. It just caved in his cheekbone, and he laid there, breathing still.
It's a little, I've never seen that in a film. And, whoa, like that was that whole look of that.
No, I loved, between Pennywise the Clown and this guy.
Yeah.
Really, there's no need for any more clown films.
Well, this guy looked similar to an American Horror Story clown.
Okay.
From
Freak
Show, yeah, and it looked very similar to that with the wide face, and everything.
Wasn't that the guy? That was the guy who played like Drew Carey's brother on the Drew Carey show. Wasn't he? Who played him? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it looked very similar to that same type of a thing, but.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie. It was the best horror movie I've seen in a long time.
Terrifier. I haven't even heard of it.
Oh, it's great.
It is good. Great. It is really, really good. Really well done.
All right.
I'm
gonna go check that out.
Some of the things in it are vaguely unsettling.
But on the other hand, you're laughing out loud.
So
So really between Captain Spaulding, Pennywise the Clown, and this guy. You might as well just shut the clown genre down.
Yeah, you don't.
What else can you do?
I don't know why they still do that.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah.
Well, I guess.
Come on. The Funhouse too.
Yeah.
Funhouse. Funhouse had it too, didn't it? They had clowns there. Yeah. But no, I'm sorry to segue into that, but I took a look at Breakdown Lane. You were telling me about Breakdown Lane.
Oh yes, that was the one that was directed by my associate Bob Schultz.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it has Whitney Moore as in she's a genre actor, and she does the DC Comics, DC All Access as well, and she's in a few other films too. You were telling me about
Birdemic.
Birdemic.
Good Lord.
And A Night of the Demon too.
Not as bad as as The Room.
I'll debate that with you.
But it competes with Ferocity.
I'll debate that with you. It's pretty
the CGI birds.
Oh my god!
Did you see the sequel?
There's a sequel.
No, I heard there was a sequel, and I just can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
The first one just sucked the fucking life out of me.
Well, yeah, it's like as a child when you burn your hand on the oven and somebody says, "Hey, the oven's hot again."
Yeah,
you're not really tempted to go and touch it again.
Yeah.
But I thought, yeah, there was a look on it that looked like it was a little overexposed in the desert. So you got a lot of extreme darks and extreme whites, not whites, but extreme colors.
Mm-hmm.
A little solarization in it. I thought she joined the ranks of the last girl, the defenders. I'm taking on guys in the tank top.
Yeah. No, I was fortunate enough. Bob sent me his script.
I'd like to see that
before it went into production.
Yeah.
And I went, whoa.
But you got some weird thing. There was a scene in it with a car. Well, she's laying there and she's waiting for her tire to get changed. So not because she couldn't change a tire, but apparently the spare wasn't functioning. So she called the auto club or those little some on-site masters things where you get the person talking, and she's having dialogue, and then she has her phone in which I think it's her boyfriend, lover or something. He's an old fellow, like an older fellow and everything, and they have a moment or two, and in the car and over the phone. It was kind of interesting, but I'm thinking, you have her look, if you've seen Whitney Moore and everything, when you see it, you go this, and you have this, like, okay,
just
kind
disconnect.
Odd, like there was a disconnect to me on it, and I thought maybe it was somebody, maybe it was a friend of somebody, or just the way that it looked, or it was just something to catch your eye. But this guy was definitely perhaps older than he should have been,
right?
Or maybe it was just the whiskey fog I was watching. And I wasn't a whiskey fog, actually. I don't really do that.
Was the TV dark and you were seeing your own reflection?
No, that's what I thought too. I thought there was a little bit there, but I just felt hey, that's kind of odd looking, but
I got it.
You do?
Feast
yes.
is the movie I was thinking of.
Yes.
I don't even recall what my goddamn point was, but I just needed to get that.
It was about guys entering a bar and
trapped in a bar.
Trapped in a bar, because we were trying to figure out where can you go now in a horror picture, or a picture that you got forest, they've done water. Oh, sorry, Robert, I hit the table.
That's it. You're fine.
Yes,
now we're fucked.
Now we're dead. Yeah.
All right, let's take it all again.
Let's table that remark. Anyway, so you have forest, bar, underwater.
All we had.
Underwater.
Yeah.
A desert. Where else can they go? Outer space. They've done that.
I was going to say a spaceship of some description.
Done that.
Get caught.
Where can they go?
The Nostromo.
Where can they go?
Cleveland.
That's been done.
Trapped in Cleveland.
Well, I mean, you can't.
That's a horror movie in and of itself.
So. And somebody has had this conversation. And there was the genius idea. What about spelunking? And of course, what do you get?
Descent.
Yeah.
Descent.
There's something for our viewers. If you have, where would be a setting?
You can't even go to the center of the earth because Jules Verne thought of that ages ago.
Yes, he did.
So, yeah, well, it's not so much as I don't think as the location, it's the story.
Yeah, but sometimes it's good if you put something, you can add that to the story, I suggest, how about a warehouse? A warehouse at night, and you get all sorts of cool shapes, depending on the merchandise that's in a warehouse.
Yeah.
And you turn the lights off and that's giant.
Reminds me of Intruder.
Intruder, yeah.
Which was kind of more a grocery store.
It was a grocery store.
But they had like the warehouse area in the back that they utilized a couple of times.
That was a superior film.
But I mean like a giant
The uncut version.
Yeah. Well, the uncut version has spectacular effects, but the movie itself is still pretty bad. Like the acting is terrible.
Well, when you consider though how much thought went into it, like, you know, how do we make this film on a reasonable budget?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I
sure.
I thought that was, you know,
my favorite bit about that movie is the poster that has Bruce Campbell as top billing.
Yeah,
he's literally in that movie for like 2.5 minutes.
If even
at
that,
the very end,
30 seconds.
Yeah,
probably.
he is barely in it.
Yeah,
at the very end, just playing a cop.
But I thought Intruder was a fairly reasonable film.
Yeah,
you know, in terms of, I mean, it was low budget for the day, but you know, I mean, it was satisfying to a gorehound.
The effects are spectacular, no question. They're a lot of fun to watch. Some of them are tough to watch, right? When Buddy gets his, get cut across there, right? That was tough to watch. But and those were all great, very satisfying, especially coming out of that era where gore, like we'd said, was kind of on the decline. But the acting is just so fucking bad.
What do you really think?
Punishing, like you said.
Yeah.
And so, in conclusion, we must conclude that it is the human forehead and not the much publicized brain which is the source of all man's and woman's knowledge.
How can you be carried away by such drivel?
I don't know. I just am, I guess.
Isn't it not about my theories at all, Dr. Applethorpe? Isn't it because I'm a woman?
If a man told me our foreheads were the seat of all human knowledge, I would react exactly the same way.
Really, Dr. Applethorpe? And what if that man were a woman?
You're all messed up!
Nick no longer cares about things like that, Dropsy.
You like modern art!
If we are to take over the Earth, then I think that you'll all agree that is precisely what we should do.
Why, that looks like a forehead.
Don't you want to try it on?
I've got it, Philip, I have it!
Let's just call it for now forehedacy.
Holy cow!
Philip.
Your head! What's happened to you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't you see there's something like a flu in their foreheads, and people are just ashamed to admit to the embarrassment of forehead pulsing, like the painful itch of...
Sorry, Chief. My mother was once frightened by someone's forehead when she was pregnant with my sister's daughter.
This will make you the smartest man on the planet.
What'll it be, Buster?
We're gonna get a forehead.
A what?
A forehead!
Okay, well, without further ado, let's get to some viewer questions.
Sure.
We put on Facebook the other day that you were returning. So.
Oh my.
Okay, so this is a general one. As horror fans, how do you feel about Fangoria magazine going back into print? Were you big fans of Fangoria back in the day?
Very much so. Yeah, I was a huge fan. I still have a box at home that is full of Fangoria magazines. Big one, too. Plus, I got some Gore Zone in there, and I think a couple of Rue Morgues. I was a big fan. I was very, very sad to see it go. But by the same token, I mean, the print media is certainly on its way out.
It is.
And I feel like Fango coming back into a physical print media is more of a nostalgia trip. than it is a legitimately smart investment or enterprise.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, like even with Diabolique magazine, I think it's down to 2 magazines a year.
Right.
Because you can't make money.
That's right.
It's a business model that doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to digital or print on demand.
Yeah.
Now I can see if Fango was to do special issues of something.
Sure.
50th anniversary special of this or whatever.
Are they going monthly?
I believe they're going monthly or bi-monthly. That was
what is it?
I just got an email today. Hey, would you like to subscribe again? It's like,
some of them would go. What is it? 4 issues a year.
Mm-hmm.
I think Blue Morgue is that, isn't it? 4 a year?
I'm not sure.
4. I think it's 4 a year.
I think it's 4.
Yeah.
I think Gore Zone when it was coming out was 4 a year.
Mm-hmm. Speaking about print, and I agree with you. There's definitely a decline in it. But I grew up in the age of the newsprint magazines, like Famous Monsters and things.
Yeah.
And there is one out there. The trouble, actually, too, of it is that a lot of people want the glossies. You want a lot of pictures and stuff and everything. If you put something like on newsprint, I think Horror Hound, I think, is like kind of a newspapery look.
Like we have more of a zine kind of feel to it.
Yeah, you get more of a zine, and I've seen them where they'll be like a paper, and you sort of unfold it.
Yeah,
and it's like a big thing like this. There was Classic Film News that was like that, and you'd have little articles in little print, and you'd have to go like this, and you have to read it.
In the same way that some of the early large Trek magazines.
Yeah. Fanzines.
Fanzines.
Yeah. Well, and there is something to be said as well for people of our generation. I'll put us together. That ability to hold something and read it, right? Like a book or a magazine. There is something nice about that. There's something nice about that tangibility. But I find that even people of our generation are starting to move away from that still. Do you know what I mean? Like even you were just a few minutes ago, you were reading a comic book on your tablet there, right? I mean, if there was any kind of sacred media or format, you would think that it would be newspapers and comic books. Those would be the two that would be sacred and would always kind of have that physical form still. But even those are starting to go away. So what chance do magazines?
They're even talking. I read an article about DC and Marvel actually going away from comic books because it's not a viable business model anymore.
What's happening now? What's happening, because I'm somewhat of a comics person. Digital is huge in it, and I find for me, I still buy them. I still buy some books, and everything, some comics, and because of the art in them, and I want to own the story, and I actually read them. But if you're at a comic show and you pick up issue 137 of Superman, say, and it's you pick it up and it's not the most pristine thing, and it will fall apart. Go to the digital and read it.
Yeah.
That's where it serves a purpose.
That's
you're
right.
You're not destroying your work. You bought the book, you have it, and now you can read this thing, and somebody is kind enough to scan it for you, and you're reading and you're getting the same thing. But as an aside to that, we are hardwired to have that in our hands and read. There have been studies about comprehension. People have problems comprehending electronic books more than print.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We
are hardwired for that. There's something having the paper.
Now, is there something to that in terms of age as well? Because I know that there have been studies that show that like even children these days, their brains are developing differently than ours did.
Yes.
Because of the prevalence of technology and whatnot. So was that study referencing an older generation trying to understand an electronic copy of a book, or was that a younger generation as well?
My suggestion is it would be probably the older generation, because the younger ones don't buy books.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, they've never even been faced with it.
They'll either Facebook it or they'll. But I could go to bookshops. You minute chapters.
That was sure a science-y thing you said.
No cracks about the book. But you go to a bookshop, and you still see people looking at stuff, and you still see people walking up with stacks and stuff and everything. So it's still there.
Yeah.
Magazines are a whole different thing, though.
Yeah.
You've got to. How do you do that? You have content or something. Plus, writing for magazines, you've got the advent of the blog.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was just thinking too. Is if Fango's going bi-monthly, how relevant is their content going to be by the time it gets to you 2 months later?
You'd almost have to be looking at what's coming down the pipe.
That's right.
Rather than
Like
what's out there
really far ahead, which isn't always how things work.
Yeah. See, Diabolique went on a totally different tangent. And they always were, from let's say Fangoria or Horror Hound or Gruesome magazine. The
Brits one though, like, sorry to interrupt on that. The Brits though have those big glossies, like for about $20. Like some of them, like Shivers and Starburst.
Well, I know Scream
Scream.
Yeah, Scream in the UK apparently is doing quite well, but then they want advertising at the in. And part of the problem with the horror genre, when you're in publishing, is nobody wants to pay for advertising.
Yeah.
A, the big studios don't need you. And B, the indies can't afford you.
That's right.
You ask a guy, I wouldn't mind putting like a little, we could put an ad in for you. It'd be $250, but the guy hasn't budgeted $250 to even put an ad in it.
Yeah.
And that, so when there's that problem where it's not generating any income, but by the time you print the thing off, you have your distributors send it out to all the stores, you don't get paid for 4 to 5 months.
Yeah.
And for whatever you get paid, so it's a tough industry.
Yeah.
And that's why Diabolique is taking off in a little different direction. And I'm sure I'm not sure what to think about Fango doing it. This is the second time that they've kind of gone over the edge.
Yeah.
And I know Delirium magazine is out there, and oh, by the way, I'm going to be in the next issue of Delirium. Thank you, Charlie.
Go buy it.
The sidelight to that, though, is when you talk about not only the movie magazines, but what about the story magazines?
Yeah.
Like the crime story magazines, the horror story magazines. They've disappeared. They were on the pulp print. Remember the magazine of what is it? Science fiction and fantasy.
Well, even skin mags. If you go down to your local news store and you look at the skin mags are going. It's just not profitable.
This is a perfect moment to do this right now, because we lost one of our favorite authors who used to write for skin mags, and starting out and everything. We'd like to send probably know him too, our condolences to family of Harlan Ellison, who wrote I Have No Mouth Yet I Must Scream, Repentant Harlequin, Said the TikTok Man, countless other stories.
Saturday.
Yes, that have been adapted. I know one thing he was always contentious about with Star Trek was that Roddenberry always used to say that it was City on the Edge of Forever that won the Hugo and the Nebula, but it wasn't. It was Harlan's script that they never produced that won it, not the program. So it's a little bit of a thing. But we were talking about that because Harlan was always saying, pay the writer.
Pay him.
Pay the writer,
Well, they wanted him to do even things like bonus features on a DVD.
Yeah.
Well, pay me. Well, we don't do that. Well, then you won't have me.
Yeah.
Pay me.
Yeah. And when he edited remember the pseudonym? Cordwainer Bird. Yes, and this guy would sit in a display case and type, a story on a typewriter, with genius at work over his head.
Bookstore in New York City.
In New York City, did that, and he wrote on a variety of subjects, from media criticism, the glass tit, or teat, depending on how you want to say it, you know, about television. Countless essays, countless things, and it's a great loss, you know, for the literary world and the genre world. And thanks, Harlan, you know, from me, you know, for what you did.
Yeah, I've been a Harlan Ellison fan. He's been my favorite author since the early '80s.
Yeah.
My condolences go out to his wife, Susan.
Please don't destroy his work, because remember, he had this thing in his will that she had instructions to destroy his work.
Oh.
Yeah, on the event of his death. Hopefully that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
You know?
The last Dangerous Visions is sitting
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. You know?
That we were promised for decades.
And if you want to read some stuff, read Dangerous Visions. You know, he edited that. A Boy and His Dog, which is his most famous. One of his most famous things. There's so many.
Well, he was a master of the short story.
Yes.
So, you know, I mean, there's so many. You know, I can't even begin.
They all come home to roost, which is a very terrifying story about this fellow who has relationships, and if he had a lot of relationships, and gradually one has ended, but now all the old ones keep coming back. And they all come back, and they all bring back memories to him. And it's kind of like visiting the ghosts, your romantic ghosts, and everything. It's called They All Come Home to Roost. And all the lies that are my life.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh boy, we talked about his sister.
You know. Anyway, that was a brief, you know. Thank you from Sinister Inclinations to the writer of Dangerous Visions. You know. Hope your typewriter has got a lot of ribbon and he's got a lot of paper. Where he is right now.
He's up there ranting about something.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on. That first question was from Todd in Winnipeg. We'll move on here. The last time Keith was on Sinister Inclinations, you guys talked a little about extreme films with graphic violence and no plots. All the movies mentioned were based on fictional events. What are your thoughts about extreme movies about real events? For instance, Men Behind the Sun,
I was just going to say
a 1988 film depicting the atrocities committed by a Japanese chemical warfare research unit during World War II on innocent Chinese POWs, women and children as well. This film is so graphic that it has been criticized for being an exploitation film that negates any educational value and has suffered mass controversy and censorship.
It's a tough watch.
Yeah.
It's a real tough watch.
Yeah, it is.
Especially knowing that there is some truth to what you're seeing.
Well, you know, it's very seldom talked about. My people, the Japanese, can be some of the most cruel people on the planet when they want to be. And there's reasons today why the Koreans and the Chinese just don't like the Japanese.
Right.
You know, you think of some of the stuff that went on in Manchuria, things like that.
Nanking.
But I think that, you know, the harsh depiction, when the woman is in stocks and the water is being poured over to freeze them in the cold weather, and then putting the hands in the boiling water and degloving it. Really, because I mean, you know, the Japanese used to boil them for sport, just to see how long they last, right?
Right.
So you know, I mean, you know, it's very tough watch. What are some other ones that you can think of off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, well, I mean, you always get I don't know how extreme they are, to be honest with you, because I don't typically watch them. But the ones based on like the serial killers, right? Like Bundy and Gacy and
Dahmer.
Dahmer, you get a lot of those. And I don't know how extreme those ever end up getting. I think that they usually shy away from that.
There's a new one up there, isn't there? My Friend Jeffrey Dahmer.
I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Did you ever see Carla?
No, I wouldn't see that.
No, again, a lot of those. I find something fairly distasteful about a horror movie version of something that really happened, right? Like these people were legitimately tortured and killed, and their families have to deal with that, and have to somehow figure out how to move past that, and taking an exploitive kind of romp at it in terms of a horror film, I find really, really tacky and really distasteful.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. I can't think of too many. I mean, I think of things like the opening beach scene in Saving Private Ryan.
Sure.
Where it's so explicit.
Yeah, but like the question there said though, Men Behind the Sun loses any kind of educational value, whereas I don't think that Saving Private Ryan does. I think it retains that educational value to it as well, so it doesn't become fully exploitive.
True.
Well, I think we talked about it before about the Helter Skelter films.
Mm-hmm.
An off-genre film, In Cold Blood. Truman Capote's book on that, which is very dark, and it's black and white. Robert Blake is in it. That was real. That was unsettling. Sometimes they do these though after these people have passed on or something, so they want to tell their story.
Sure. Deranged, there's one that I can think of, Ed Gein. That one's moderately graphic and based on a true story.
Well, moderately. I think and like you say, there's a certain line that gets drawn.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of Anne Rule books, and her one on Bundy is particularly, graphic. And it's one thing if you were to show a child laying there, obviously a victim. Do you remember old style hairspray cans?
Yeah, the aerosol ones.
Yeah. Okay. You don't have to show the child with one of those up his rectum.
Oh.
No.
So.
No.
At that point, you've gone past to know that a child was a victim is enough.
Yeah.
And because that brings out, we can empathize with that.
Mm-hmm.
If you go and show in graphic detail, then you've lost the educational value.
Sure. I agree. Well, and because I don't know, I can speak for myself, and being a parent, the idea of a child being a victim is already unsettling enough to me.
Well,
but to be given graphic detail about it is too much. I don't need it.
What is the educational value in it in the first place, though? Is it to inform, to inform people of events, or what?
Well, in that case, then shouldn't it be a documentary rather than an exploitive narrative?
Yeah, that's that. In Cold Blood is documentary style.
Right.
Brilliant picture. Some people have said Bonnie and Clyde was exploitive, because they weren't like that. And that was a lot of violence in there.
Sure. Yeah.
So.
Well, that was a Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker. Weren't probably as romanticized as the Dunaway, Beatty.
Well, there was that whole thing about reading about them and being made into folk heroes, but also some people have said they're actual. If you see in the Dunaway Beatty film, she's actually shooting, and they said she never shot the gun; she always loaded. That was her function.
Right.
So.
And in reality, Flats and Scruggs wasn't there playing banjos.
No, they were down with the Clampets.
Yeah.
If we want to get real here for a minute.
Yeah, they were down with the Clampets, but a lot of it they say based loosely on history. So
that was from Trevor in Calgary. Thank you, Trevor.
Yes,
good question.
Yes.
Yeah.
There'll be a little nothing on the way home for you.
Okay, this question is specifically for Keith. Do you collect horror VHS? And I'll bet you know who this one's from. Hi, Susan. Also, what was your favorite video store growing up, and what is one of your fondest memories of the video store era?
I don't currently collect VHS movies, though I do have a few. I also have a VCR, but I didn't have a VCR for a long time, so I got rid of most of my movies, and now I'm kind of coming across them every once in a while. I'll usually grab them if I can, but...
See, I think Susan was fishing to raid your collection.
To raid my collection?
Yeah.
Oh, no. She'd be sorely disappointed. I have a pretty extensive DVD collection, but not VHS. But my favorite store growing up, I grew up in a small town, so mine was a place called Magic Video. And it was this small little video store in my hometown, and I literally rented every single horror movie that she had in the place. And my fondest memory was actually getting to know her so well that every week I'd go in and she would just throw me she had like a sheets of paper all stapled together, and she'd throw them to me, and it was the order sheet for the next week. And she would just say, just go through the horror section and pick whatever you want.
Cool.
And so I would just go in and I'd start ticking off these boxes and stuff like that. And I'd be like, I don't know if anybody else is going to want to watch these. And she's like, doesn't matter. You're going to rent it enough times to pay for it anyway. And so, of course, she used to get posters, like just scads and scads of posters, more posters than she could possibly put on her walls. And so the ones that didn't end up usually getting on the walls were the horror posters. And so every week I'd go in, she'd just have a whole new raft of posters for me.
Do you still have
them? I do not. I cannot find them. I thought I still had them. I can't find them anywhere.
Isn't that
I am so pissed off about it. Speaking of Sleepaway Camp, earlier I had a Sleepaway Camp 3 poster, a Halloween 5 poster, I had a Tremors poster. Yeah, it was. I had a lot of great
big money now.
I know, right? I'm so pissed off. That Frankenhooker, I had a Frankenhooker poster. Oh, I love that one.
A lot of those too. They were limited edition posters because they were just for the DVD release.
That's right. Yeah.
VHS.
VHS release. So, and they would do combos and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I don't know. Did you have a favorite growing up?
A favorite what?
VHS store, video store.
Oh gosh. Not really. I really didn't have any loyalty to any specific one. I kind of went where the film was at the time. You know, I didn't actually rent a lot because mostly I was irritated about bringing them back. Usually, you had to do that when it was snowing out, because the 3 days or something or whatever it was, from the 7 days. I remember Video and Sound in Calgary, where we are shot. That they have a stratified renting program. You could have it for 2 days, 3 days, 7 days, 10 days, or something. There was that, and you could only take new releases out had to be back the next day.
Yeah,
as well. And I had a little tag with a smiley face. New item or new release, So I used to, when I did rent, I did go there or the local chain that happened to be around. But
in Lethbridge, it was video cinema for me.
Yes, I remember Video Cinema.
Here would be, well, two of them: Video and Sound and Casablanca.
Casablanca was great.
Yeah. Both were known for getting in what other people wouldn't, especially Video and Sound.
Yeah.
You would find cult stuff and, all kinds of good stuff. But to me, part of it was the hunt. And a lot of young people remember this, but a lot of films took their time getting released on VHS.
Right.
And we used to go on hunts, and I would have like a stack this big of membership cards at all these video stores. So I would just pull them out if I found something. Oh, look, they got a copy of The Ice Cream Man,
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
And then we'd have these watching marathons. I mean, I miss that.
Yeah.
But that's a sad thing too, because a lot of movies didn't make it to VHS. So when that happens, what are the chances of making it to DVD?
Almost
and
zero.
If they haven't made it to DVD yet, what are the chances of them going to Blu-ray?
Absolutely zero.
So it's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't promote piracy, But sometimes the pirate sites are the only places you
Are
can
the only
find
places you can
even
get
a
them.
copy.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know.
Now, there are a few out there still.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, we do not condone it, but I'm sure viewers out there
Well, as a
have their
filmmaker,
own
I don't
sources.
condone it, but
They have their own sources. I'm sure they do. And it's a fact of life now. It's a fact of digital life.
Sure.
You know, speaking of that, I heard you guys might have heard this term before too, and it refers to this whole tech thing, but being a digital citizen.
What is that?
I was leafing through at a store a computer book for young kids, and they're showing coding. This was written for preschoolers.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the sections had it for kids, and it said being a digital citizen and what you're supposed to do when you're online and how you're supposed to watch that. You know, and
Like
what
a
you're supposed
code
to
of conduct kind of thing?
Code of conduct for kids.
Okay.
You know, and you're learning this and everything. That, I know it's kind of a segue from what we were talking about, pirate sites and everything. But be a good digital citizen from now on. You know.
Wow, the thing that surprised me in an age where free speech is under attack and free thought. That's amazing.
Well, it's more than free speech actually isn't under attack. It's stupid speech that's under attack.
Well,
and just because you have a platform that you can say anything you want, it doesn't mean that it really should be said. That's my belief.
You still have the freedom to do it, though.
If you want to speak stupid, good, but speak stupid, and we don't have to listen to it.
That's right.
You know?
It's like, you remember when Married with Children came out?
Yes.
And there was that big furor about, it shouldn't be on TV, it shouldn't be allowed. Yeah. The same holds true today. If you don't like it, don't read it, don't watch it, don't
turn the channel.
Yeah, it's your you have personal responsibility. You can't just shut everyone up who disagrees with you. That is
right. But you don't turn the channel. But keep yourself on SInister Inclinations, though.
Yes,
yeah,
don't change this. Politically correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the question?
I think we covered it. That was about video stores.
We buried it and put a marker on it. Yeah.
Okay. And that was from Susan Ward.
Oh, okay. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, Sue. Okay. Next question.
You can't have any of my VHS.
Enjoy your chips that you're reading now. Okay.
This is interesting. What is one of the best made-for-TV horror movies that either influenced you growing up or just really left an impact on you? Made for television.
Made for television.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Jack Palance. That was 1973.
Did they have TVs back then? Or?
Absolutely. We had to fire them up by steam. But they work.
It's alive. Cathode rays going.
It's alive. It's alive. Oh, it's gone now. But I had to throw that in. Jack Palance television version of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
When Michael Calls would be one of the ones. Crowhaven Farm.
Oh, you're doing made-for-TV stuff too,
made-for-TV movies and stuff.
Like, remember that's an '80s thing too. Is remember Movie of the Week?
Yeah,
we used to have mystery. You know, you had McLeod and
these,
you know, and Macmillan and Wife.
Macmillan and Wife.
You know,
McLeod and Columbo.
Yes. Yeah.
And Frank Cannon.
Yeah. And
Nude for Satan.
Yeah, back there.
The fireworks. Had to bring that up.
I think Salem's Lot.
The FBI Part 3, a Quinn Martin production.
Love that show. Yeah. Starring Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.
Yeah. What was that?
Salem's Lot.
Salem's Lot.
Jesus, scared the crap out of me.
Well, I think many of the, so there's so many Stephen Kings that, it was almost an annual thing.
Yeah, like that and It and The Langoliers in later years.
That blew.
Yeah.
The Langoliers.
And of course, they just redid The Shining.
Storm of the Century. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking back in the 70s. We had, there was some first of all, I can't mention TV without mentioning Rod Serling's Night Gallery.
True.
Right.
Because, what Twilight Zone did for science fiction, Night Gallery did for horror.
Dark Shadows.
Dark Shadows.
The original soap opera.
Jonathan Frid.
Jonathan Frid, yes. And there was a werewolf character in it, too.
Yeah.
Named Hennessy.
Quentin.
I think Quentin
Collins.
Quentin Collins, yes. David Hennessy, I think.
I Am Victoria Winters.
Yes. Yeah, that became 3 films.
Became 3 series, actually.
Yeah, but the original, I think it started as a regular soap opera, and then they added the supernatural elements to it, and it became a huge
it's rated
hit.
for dying, so we
Yeah.
introduce a vampire, and then once the vampire's there, well, what about a werewolf?
Yeah.
What about an incubus?
Sure, what the hell?
And it ran in the afternoons.
Yeah, it was a soap opera.
Yeah, Dark Shadows. Check it out.
Yeah, the complete Dark Shadows is available on DVD.
Yes.
And I think it's, 95 DVDs
It's
or
huge.
something?
It's
Oh,
huge.
Jesus.
And
It's huge.
I mean, I figured it out one day. If you watch 3 episodes a day, it would take you 2 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's on actually a service right now.
And yet there's a dude.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'm not going to mention the name because we're not getting plugged.
Yeah,
But the whole thing is there. I watched the first episode,
Oh, okay.
which I'd never seen. It's 30 minutes long, shot in black and white.
Yeah.
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 This whole thing was black and white. So.
And Dan Curtis.
Yeah.
More television. The Night Stalker.
Oh, yeah. Kolchak?
Kolchak. Kolchak, the Night Stalker.
Yeah.
And then The Night Strangler, the sequel. And then the series. We had some good television back in the day.
Yeah.
In terms of horror. The Lizzie Borden story with Elizabeth Montgomery.
Yeah.
That was very good.
The Gene Roddenberry series, Spectre.
Yeah. Yeah, paranormal.
Yeah. Which I think was just a pilot film or something, wasn't it? Just that's as far as it got. Was as far as that made it. But of course now you have American Horror Story.
Sure.
What else is out there?
Well, I mean, there was X-Files for a while there, which kind of dabbled in horror every once in a while.
Penny Dreadful.
Channel Zero now.
Yeah. We got so many now.
Supernatural's in its 13th, 14th
season. I think it's starting.
Was it Grimm too? Was it
Grimm? I think Grimm ended. I think this is the last season.
Yeah. Stranger Things.
Well, they're shooting Black Summer here right now. But, I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. It's a prequel to Z Nation, which is a sci-fi program.
Okay.
But Netflix is in town shooting a prequel series called Black Summer. Why Netflix? Why not sci-fi?
They'll sell it to.
No. Yeah, probably. But
So-
it'll run on Netflix.
Sometimes that's the way, as you know, some companies and networks will do it, is they'll cross-pollinate their financing. So, we'll do a Netflix series and we'll combine finance it with Sci-Fi Network. And
Well, everything I've heard, though, is it's so different. Like, they're not going to go for the zombie look. It's more like medical. But I don't know. I'll reserve judgment until I see it. But it's shooting right now here in town.
It's the Ambivalent Dead again, right?
The Ambivalent Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that title. Should we do it? I don't know. I don't know. Do you want to order in tonight? A teen burger?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Feels like a lot of work.
Yeah, I gotta run. I'm gonna sweat again. I only have one pore on the side of my head. I blow my hair. I can't.
What else is there? Salem's on now, or might still be on. I'm not sure. There's a couple of seasons, at least.
Yeah.
I really like Channel Zero. I mentioned it earlier, but I really like that show. If you guys ever watched that, season 1's really good. I haven't seen season 2 yet, though.
HBO is just the second episode is just ran. It's called Sharp Objects.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's different. It's in its way reminiscent of True Detective season 1, where it's not so much about unraveling the mystery; it's stark imagery that sort of thing. Amy Adams. It seems okay so far. 10 episode limited series. Well, there's the Santa Clarita Diet, the zombie thing.
Sure. These are all continuing series. I think too. Maybe the question referred to like
movies of the week. Well, I mean, there's so many. I mean, there was the one that I always remember as being the first one I think I ever watched was the Treasure or the Ghost of Sierra de Cobra, and that was a made-for-TV with Martin Landau. But I remember as a kid being horrified because there was this ghost with this awful expression coming at the camera. And
I could toss into, and I actually have an article on my site about this show, Count Dracula with Louis Jourdain.
Yeah.
1977. It was a 2-part BBC.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right. You talked about that one last time.
Yeah.
BBC.
Yeah, it was a 2-part BBC, dramatized by Gerald Savoy. And it had... the wonderful production values on it, the closest thing to the book I've seen. Some people have issues with Mr. Jourdain's portrayal of Count Dracula, but I think all the elements are there. That was a made-for-TV, and there's an article on it on my website called Nitrate Visions, which hopefully we'll be able to get on the credits, and you can take a look at that there and learn a little more about it.
The web addresses.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I can't think of any more offhand. Again, if I would have read the questions earlier, I probably would have thought back. And I mean, there were
Children of the Corn.
No,
something
that was theatrical.
Or there was one that Betty Davis did. She referred to the coom, meaning something. It was. No, sorry. It's
Feast. It was Feast.
Feast.
No.
Feast. It had fireworks.
Okay, well, that was a question that comes from Belinda in TO, Toronto.
Oh.
Okay, and we have a final question this evening. Do you like giallos, and how do you think that they have influenced the early North American slasher genre? It is said that Mario Bava's Bay of Blood, 1971, is one of the most imitated movies of the past 30 years and is considered to be one of the first slasher films. Also, Friday the 13th Part 2 has been accused of stealing 2 murder scenes from Bay of Blood that are literally identical, shot for
True
shot.
story.
Yeah?
True story.
Well, the couple that are in the bed and the spirit, that's shot for shot. Now, at that point, do you think it's homage? Or do you think they just thought, wow, who's ever seen this in the 1970s?
I suspect it was that one. Because, I mean, the world was a lot smaller then, right? It wasn't, or I guess it was a lot bigger then.
Well,
right?
it was the information age.
That's right.
Where everything's available to anyone.
Yeah. Nobody knew about Twitch of the Death Nerve. You know what I mean? Which is its other title.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Nobody knew about the Trail of the Screaming Foreheads.
Hey, that's another one of our gems.
I think it's interesting that this question starts off talking about giallo, but then ends up talking about Bay of Blood, which I would not consider to be giallo.
Well, it has a mystery atmosphere and
a little bit.
The opening, don't you think?
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, typically you want to have some cops involved in a giallo.
Well, there is a cop
in the beginning, in the beginning scene, isn't it? Like with
a cop is killed, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call Bay of Blood a giallo. And I mean, I guess selfishly, or to color it, is because I like Bay of Blood. I actually think it's a pretty fun film to watch. But I don't like giallos.
You don't?
No, not really. I'm afraid, again, I'm going to get myself in so much trouble here. I've never really gotten Dario Argento. I don't know why people like him. I don't get it.
Well, I'm kind of with you there.
Okay.
Well, he's got there's an acquired taste to him, definitely. Suspiria.
Sure.
That's more a bombing of the senses.
We've come a long way. Do you remember when you couldn't pronounce Suspiria?
Yeah. because I just remembered. Cause
Wasn't that just the last episode I was on?
That's because you corrected me, and that's what I remember. And that's actually being re-released. Actually, Criterion's doing something on that. It's being remade, isn't it?
I think it's the year of Suspiria right now with the remake.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and don't get me wrong, I think that Dario's films are gorgeous. They're beautiful looking, but where's the story? I don't.
Opera, you remember that?
Yeah, Opera. Yeah. Yeah, I ended up liking one of his proteges, Michel Soavi. Or Solavi or whatever it is. I liked his stuff more in the long run, like The Church and what was his other one? Doesn't matter.
It had fireworks.
It did have fireworks. Blood Red and
and Tenebrae and that John Saxon in that.
Yeah,
that's
right. If we go back to Bava. One of the big things that I remember about A Bay of Blood was Claudine Auger.
Yeah.
She also played Domino in Thunderball.
Yeah.
The love interest of James Bond.
Yeah.
Which frankly, and I'll say this openly, I think she'd probably be like in her 80s now. But it was one of the most beautiful women I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just stunning. Kind of like Natalie Wood, only with European sophistication.
Right.
I think there was another girl in that film too, Luciano Paluzzi. She did the scene in it was in Thunderball. She's in the tub with him. Not with him, but he wanders in. She's in the tub.
Oh yes. Okay.
Yeah. And she always struck me. She was in Green Slime and Moon 02. Moon 02. There's a Western. So,
Okay.
I think only 6 people have seen that film.
I am not one of them.
Yeah, Moon 02. You take a look at that. It's a hammer. It's a hammer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she's in that too.
All right.
I don't know how we segued into that. You're talking about James Bond. So.
Okay, well, that was from Miriam in Regina. We'd like to thank everybody who sent us a question this evening, and I think that's it for now.
Yes.
Keith, thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me, guys. I love coming here.
Thank you for coming here.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you.
And we'll talk to you soon. We'll also have an interview coming up with Janine Burkhardt, the director of Chimes. We're going to be Zooming with her in Germany tomorrow.
Yes.
So we'll see you next time.
Yes, we'll go back to the lights in the sky.
Trail of the screaming fire, what can the body do? 'Cause when your forehead screaming is screaming